Welcome to the Essence of the Soul,
a safe haven for all souls.
My name is Linda.
And my name is Paris, and welcome to our episode with our special guest, Tassie Yang.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining our episode today. We've been wanting to bring you on board for a long time now. We've been following you on YouTube and your Facebook pages, Shaman Memoirs, and we love what you do in the community and would like to dive in deeper into your journey. So just to start off, can you give us a little more information and background on how you got to where you are today as a healer?
Yeah. So it started, I actually officially raised my shaman shrine when I was about 22 years old. And a long time ago, I am now 38, but I officially started it when I was 22. I had a lot of symptoms and ailments of being a shaman since I was a kid, but I grew up in a really Western Americanized background where I didn't have my relatives around me, so we didn't know of anybody who were shamans. And then I went to church as well. So fast forward, I started to know more Hmong people. I started to get more into the community. And it was actually my friends who asked me if I thought I was a shaman. And I had no idea what that meant. I just thought of like what we saw growing up. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that is not me. And then, but now when I look back, hindsight 2020, I'm like, how did I not know? But, fast forward, we ended up seeing a shaman, and he is the one who actually diagnosed me, per se. And, he got me by saying that I was going to die if I didn't do it. Yeah, because I'm like, you hear stories of shamans growing up, especially like our elders. They really had a lot of ailments and a lot of things before it actually happened, right? Yeah. And then, and a lot of people were suffering before they became a shaman, but I had a good life, okay? Yeah. So I was afraid I was going to die and lose all this. And that's what led me into my path. Mm-hmm. So then I was actively practicing. I was a Master Shaman. And then when I was 28 years old, I put my shrine down. And then I ran away for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. And then about a year ago, I raised my shrine again, and I'm practicing and taking on students again for the community.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. That is. Well, that's amazing because I watch your YouTube videos.
Thank you.
I have been following your journey of like you telling the story too. So it's really interesting. What actually brought you back after 10 years?
Honestly, it's so true whenever I say like your spirit guides know you better than yourself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I started my whole YouTube era doing mukbangs. I was eating. I was having a good life. And they kept showing me that my spirit guides kept showing me I was going to be on camera and I was going to eat. But back then, it's not like ASMR. Nowadays with mukbangs, everybody gravitates towards ASMR. Mm-hmm. Back then, it was about knowing the people who was eating. And, you talk about your life. Yeah. And my life was really haunted, So eventually, I don't even know, like maybe a year or two in later, and my mukbangs, I was doing very well. But then, like, my ghostly things kept happening to me, and then people started hearing voices in my mukbangs, like somebody else, like another woman, while I have food in my mouth. So they're like, do you record alone? And I'm like, I do record alone. And they're like, we just saw an orb fly behind you. Oh so, they're ruining my mukbangs.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it got to the point where this urgency came out where I was like, okay, I just need to dive into my whole story and background because that was more true to who I am. And then Shaman Memoirs came about. Mm-hmm. And Shaman Memoirs was strictly just supposed to be funny ghost stories, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But then so many people didn't know enough about shamanism that I was like, but this is like basic answers. It's not about teaching you the inner workings of everything that you're not allowed to tell people. Mm-hmm. So then it kind of just progressed into this whole thing. Yeah. Now, during my time with doing Shaman Memoirs, I kept seeing so many people still struggling finding shamans, finding teachers, and asking me if I know of any shamans. I do know a lot of shamans, but they are not open to the community. They tend to, hide a lot, or they go to church. I actually know a lot of shamans who go to church. And so knowing all of this, my spirit guides, I was going on my trip to I was going on my cruise. I was going to say the Caribbean. I did go there, but I was going on my cruise. And I remember my spirit guides were like kind of foreshadowing things for me. They were like, there's going to be a lot of dragons there. And I need to connect with them before I go. So that way they make sure I make it back safe, especially since I didn't have my shrine. So that I spent time meditating before my actual cruise. And I'm telling you, there's something in the waters. Because once I connected with them, it was like, he was just smiling at me, like this all-knowing, like welcoming me back. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm just here on vacation. But he was like, yeah, don't worry. It was like that kind of look, and he was everywhere. And I saw him everywhere, and being around all the dragons, it really just reminded me of my own spirit guides when I was around them. And it was like, there was just so many of them. And then, fast forward, I come back. And then all of a sudden, it was like an epiphany hit me where I see these like windows of opportunities for a lot of people and for myself. And I know when it opens, and then this like urgency hits you where you're like, this is the moment. You have to do it. You just can't back down now. And having been around all those dragons again, it was just like, this is your window now. Now that you're back home, we made sure you made it back home. Your end of the deal is now you have to raise. And I was like, I'm not ready for this. And I remember my spirit guides were like, we gave you 10 years to get ready for this. And even my family, they were super shocked because all of a sudden I was like messaging them, so I'm going to raise my shrine and I'm going to have a grand opening at the end of this month.
Wow.
And everybody was like, what? Like where did this come from? And I'm like, it's a long story. So that's how everything came about, and here I am.
Wow, a pretty fast process.
It's really fast. Like unfortunately, my spirit guides, if you notice how I talk, my spirit guides are very direct and they're very fast. And so if there's something that's slowing me down, they get very angry. So it has to happen right away. And then they move very quickly. So that was my window.
Wow.
So how were you able to manage such a fast pace and getting everything together within a month?
Honestly, I don't sleep a lot. I did mention in some of my videos in passing that I suffered from insomnia, and I suffered it after I put my shrine down. So after I put my shrine down, I started to suffer from insomnia. And a lot of times when you have somebody who is, very spiritual and you have insomnia, it's because the spirits are talking to you and they're trying to get you to pay attention and listen to them. So I really didn't. And I'm used to operating on very little sleep. So what happens though, during my windows of opportunities and my spirit guides want something, they don't let me sleep. But it's funny because I don't feel tired either. I'm just I'm super hyper focused, and this is the only thing that's important to me. Everything else takes a back seat, and this is all that I focus on, and then it just gets done. And of course, my family. My family, my boyfriend, they truly, I'm very blessed where they support me so much in all my random stuff I do. They're just always there, like to help each other out, and so I'm just very, very blessed.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so when you came out with Shaman Memoirs, how was it internally, putting yourself out there, offering your services, and trusting that, the journey will go okay?
Honestly, I think it's, okay, this is going to sound really weird when I say this, okay? Because sometimes I have this conversation with people. For myself, sometimes people are here for love tests. So they constantly are searching for love. They need love. They end up having really hard burdens. When it comes to love, it just sucks, like, but they're here for a love test, right? So like for myself, I just know I'm loved. So I don't look for love in others. But it's really weird saying it, okay? Because unless you also are similar, you won't truly understand that, But then like for myself, like I just have this knowing, like kind of weird. I'm trying to explain it the best I can. But it is this knowing, because then I told my spirit guides, what a lot of people ask me is, how did I open a business and have my shrine there, And I always tell them, like one of my biggest deals was back when I did it out of my living room, like every Hmong shaman did. We did it out of our living room. Clients came in. It was all cash deals. Constantly, they would be lining up my front door. Like when I get home from work, there's already a line. And I didn't have a life. They were in my house all day. They don't know how to go home. They stay and sit through all the sessions of everybody, and they gossip and they give each other ideas. And then on the weekends, it's just ceremonies, and it was just constant hounding me. And I never had that separation of my own personal identity and life. And one of my biggest things in my journey, I was afraid of becoming a shaman because you hear about Nala, where you get possessed, So I was afraid I was going to become possessed and not myself. And, but in reality, it was just everybody consuming my time. So for the 10 years that I refused to raise my shrine, it was because I told my spirit guides I would not do it unless I could open it up somewhere not in my home. That was the only way. Wow. Yeah. So, and they assured me, and they still do, like where they tell me, like okay, I'm moving on my tangents. Okay. My mind's going somewhere else. I'm like, we'll talk about that later. But like they always told me that, they would show me images of what it would look like in the future, that I would have my own business that I would open up, and then I would have my clients go there. But I'm like waiting, like, okay, we'll make it happen, Yeah. And then of course, it's funny because I tell people this too. When you go to a shaman and they say, like in this time of the year, this is supposed to happen to you. But if you just sit at home and think it's going to come through your living room, it's not going to come through your living room. You still have to take the steps naturally. So like then I started to really take the steps naturally. And then that's when everything happened. Like there were such stressful moments of me opening up my business where I was like, okay, if it doesn't work, I'm not even doing it. And then all the cards fall and everything happens. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do it. So there were challenges too, like with opening a business, making sure you have the funding, making sure you could get insurance. Like insurance for a shaman is very hard. They're like, what is that? And I'm like, it's like Reiki, So it was very hard. And a lot of insurance companies were like, yeah, we don't have you under any of our policies. We don't know how to insure you. And then I did eventually find it, but because it kept leading up to, if y'all don't make this happen, it's over. Like I'm pulling the plug, and then it would just happen. So it's just having faith and knowing that your spirit guides will always lead you to where you're supposed to go, and just trusting it.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So like that is very different from a lot of Hmong shamans.
Yes.
And can you speak more about like the difference between having your altar in a different, like in an office versus your own home?
It is going to be on the shaman's spirit guides, right? Okay. Your spirit guides have to be willing to meet you there, and you have to like. One of the biggest things with when you don't do it in your home, especially when you're in a commercial space, and I talk about this when people live in apartments too. You can raise a shrine in an apartment, but you will be stuck with cleansing it constantly, your space, because when you share a building, there's a lot of entities that cross over, know. So it is a lot of black magic that you're going to have to do. It is, because it is protecting your space as well, so that other entities don't cross over.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Okay. Yeah, so you talked a little bit about Shaman Memoirs. So when your guides were showing you this vision of yours, like what was like your ultimate vision for it, like the impact for the community and what you want to see from it going forward?
Yeah. My ultimate impact is to get other shamans to do the same thing. Like my number one thing I hear from everybody, whether they message me, email me, or through my comments, is that people can't find shamans. Like I know I'm not going to be the shaman for everybody, but I need others to see there is a path, there is a way. We are moving to the future, and it's not common anymore where you go to all these relatives and they have, all these like family events and everybody's there, and then you get to hear it through word of mouth, because traditionally we were all word of mouth people. And now we don't have that. People are living all over the world now. It's not just here in Minnesota. And it's so difficult finding that help when you need it. And I'm a strong believer that it doesn't matter your background. I believe everybody who needs or wants or looks for spiritual help should be able to obtain it, And I never want anybody to feel like they can't get help. They don't know the traditions. They don't know the right way of doing things. They're afraid of offending the shaman, or because they're not married or they're divorced, like shamans will look down on them. So I never want anybody to face those things. And I want other shamans to be on social media, even if that's what it takes, to write their books, to share their experiences, because so many people are going through the same thing. And my story may not resonate with others, but I want someone else to be able to help others. So that, and like for me, I'm willing to take the heat for anything, because I know I can get through it. I have a good life. I'm very blessed. Thank you. Thank you. And so, but I want it where other people can feel safe to come out too, So that's what I want with opening Shaman Memoirs, that you can do this. And I want you to do it. I want you to be my neighbor,
Yeah.
I think that helps a lot, because when I was watching your YouTube videos and I was first introduced to you about maybe like 3 years ago, I started watching your videos and I was like, oh my God, there's so much information that I never knew. And it's the type of information that, based on our old generation, like they never would tell you a lot of stuff. Like they would hold a lot of the information because they didn't want to scare you or make you feel uncomfortable or anything. But listening to your stories, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it's really real. And like, this is what's actually happening, So you have made a huge impact.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And, like a lot of times when I talk to people, I don't think I'll ever get over when people are excited to see me, because I think sometimes people forget I'm just a girl and there's a camera there. Like, but I'm alone. Now I have a team, but I'm alone usually, and I'm laughing to myself and my cloning. And I forget how long I've been doing YouTube for. So I just see it as I'm telling you guys my memories and my stories, so I don't see the impact that I do to other people. Right. So like even my grand opening, I was like, I don't know, like maybe 10 people will show up. I had no idea that there was going to be so many people. Even some of my super close friends who I used to go to the clubs with, they were like, I waited almost 2 hours outside. And she was like, and when I got in here, I waited another 45 minutes. I was like, why didn't you just text me? I would have let you in.
That's so funny.
So like, I do forget though. I do forget those things, but I think it's so important as anybody who is a spiritual healer, like, not to have an ego, because that's where you will have your downfall. Like, we are so human,
Yeah, I agree. There's actually one topic that we really wanted to learn more about with you. You say that you're very connected to the dragons.
Yes.
And that's kind of like part of your lineage and your background too. So can you give us like more information on Koja versus like Jia Ning, Ning Xia? Because I know there's a lot of controversy in the shaman community, and there's not enough information about it. So if you can dive in a little bit.
Yeah. So speaking about like my own experience with like having dragon spirit guides, right? When you have dragon spirit guides, it's kind of twofolds, because one, whenever I work with other spiritual healers, we talk about like your higher self. You have typically people have a version of themselves in the spirit world still. So we are just a glimmer of who we still are up in the spirit world. So I refer to them as your higher self. when you meet your higher self, right, you can either be a dragon, right, your form, you can take into a human form, or you can the other or is you are not a dragon. That is the only other or. But then usually those who have dragon spirit guides, you are either a dragon, your higher self is a dragon, and you can tell if you are a dragon. And the easiest way to tell is people who are born as a dragon, you tend to know things without people having to tell you in detail. Like if you're like, you're meeting somebody new, or even if you're like, you're talking to your sister or your brother and they're like, yeah, I have this new coworker. And then you just have this feeling about this coworker. You don't even know their name. You don't know what they are, but you just have this feeling. That happens a lot to people who are Ja. And then also commonly found with people who are dragons, they actually have a spirit inside of themselves. Like when when we come down and you are a dragon, you are born with a dragon inside of you to protect you, because dragons are their weakest state when they are a human form. So then we have a dragon that's inside of us and then it wakes up. So if commonly, if you tend to get sleep paralysis and something suddenly comes out of you, and for my stories, usually, because I'm the bait for people in haunted houses, I'll sleep over just to get rid of it for you. This is what I did when I didn't have my shrine up. People would be like, I would see dark things in their house, and then I would sleep over. And when I'm falling asleep, that's when it comes, and then my dragon will eat it. So commonly found that's what happens. Like when you're losing consciousness and something else comes out to fight. So that is when you are a dragon, because all dragons who are born here, you have that entity inside of you. Now what happens though is those individuals, they have to work with knowing how to wake it up. And so usually it's funny because I would have clients come in who are dragons, and then I tell them, you have to tell them how to wake them up. They'll wake up and they'll look at me. I'm like, I'm just not right now. So I have a code word. It's called opening a bag of chips. So when I say the word bag of chips, you're supposed to know it actually means wake up. So then, because then whenever I say it, they kept waking up, going like waking up. But it is understanding how to work with that. Now, those who are not a dragon, you go to your higher self and you're a beautiful woman, okay? Basically, you are of a higher god, and that's how you are gifted dragons, because then only higher gods and certain gods who do certain tasks, they are gifted dragons, and that's how you end up having dragon spirit guides. Wow. Yeah. Now, for my lineage, we are known as Jandu Jatea. And when we are this, though, we do work heavily with dragons, but that is not all we are, So with dragon spirit guides in general, they tend to come hand in hand with Shoma. Shoma is what we would call any Hua Asian that is not Hmong, So it could be Korean, it could be Chinese, it could be Vietnamese, Thai even. And really, when you have that other, when you have Aja, they always come with Shua. So they come hand in hand with those type of spirit guides. And they are very good at kakong, and they're very good at tora tonzong, and they're very good at finding things, So if, example, a client comes to me and they're like, well, my son, blah, blah, blah. I don't need their name. I don't need to know anything about them. My dragons, they will just go and find them, and they know where they are, So that's typically with dragon spirit guides.
Wow. Interesting. So what are the pros and cons of, having dragon spirit guides? Because I know there are some people in the community that do, choose not to accept those guides too.
Yes. So I will say that with dragons, okay, the pros, there's a lot of pros with dragons. They're very good at what they do. They are gifted a lot of gifts, and they're really good at what they do. However, I feel like so many people know about the pros of dragons, whereas the cons is that dragons, they get bored very easily. And, I'm not allowed to say negative things about them. So, like sometimes when you're really bored, what do? You go find some fun. And so you have the chupu of somebody who can control things very well. You need to have very strong mental control, or they will control you. And in turn, like that may mean you have to be very strict to your spirit guides. I will admit, I'm a little lax when it comes to my spirit guides. Like I shared before, sometimes they'd be doing wild things. But like when it happened, I didn't know what they were doing, but I remember seeing them running over water. And I was like, what is that? What are they doing? And then I hear this scream of a dragon because they're like, oh, it's a Sha, and they pick it up. And I was like, no, I'm going to get in so much trouble. I was like, put it down, put it down, put it down. But it's like, so, like you need to have so much mental control, or it gets really bad. They will react on their own. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword a lot of times with Zha, where I don't have to I don't have to tell them to be on guard. They are always on guard, And so if something comes, they attack right away. Yeah. They don't wait and then attack. It is just their natural innate reaction, Like I remember there was a shaman once that came and she was like, oh my God, I can just see so much dragon scales. Like you can't even get through and penetrate this. And I was like, yeah, but it's double-edged, So there is a lot of anger that can come with Jas. Okay. So this is where it comes to, you need to have so much control. Like I get angry at times, but my spirit guides, they tend to get angry when there is a great injustice or things are not moving as fast as they should, or something like let's say I have to oneng, right? And I forget something. Like they just like this ugly head just turn around like better. And I'm like, calm down. But usually like with my boyfriend, like sometimes, like my sister always tells them, just beat her, because she thinks that sometimes I get a little out of pocket. And, I've gotten really good where I warn him. I'm like, I need you to go away. Like, cause I can feel it coming. Like my spirit guides are about to get really angry. And it's like, you can't even move or you're going to drop that water. Like the cup is just too full and it's going to go crazy. And he's just like, sometimes he just, like, definitely we are both fighters, like we're, and that's why I feel like we are just so perfect for each other, because we're both fighters and we love hard. But man, when we both fight, my poor sister, she's always around when it happens. She's always like, just hide me. but it's just like when you, I will say though, dragons tend to look for this. Like we tend to look for these also like very aggressive types of personalities, because that is where we connect, But I do hear what you're saying. There is a lot of negativity where you need to have such strong mind control, or else they will control you.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting. Yeah, you basically covered everything with your story of like the questions I had. I know like this is an area that I've been wanting to dive in more because of my sessions with you personally. I've learned a lot about my spirituality and just needing to share this information with other people that are curious about, this lineage too.
Yes. I think that it can be so beautiful with any lineage, right? It doesn't matter whether they choose the route of going with dragons or not with dragons. You can gain so much as long as you truly spend time knowing yourself. And once you really know yourself, you become a very strong individual. Like knowing your boundaries. What are you not okay with and what are you okay with? Dragons tend to have a strong sense of justice, though, I will say that. So any bit of slightness, it's very hard for them. But understanding, and that's where I say the Shua, they come in hand, and it's really good because in the Shua, they are very good with basically Jangoa and understanding of people, knowing that, like during my second shrine, I was a hot mess during my second shrine, I will say. it was like where I was getting too much information about people, and it made me not like being around people. And I knew I was changing because this wasn't who I was before. I was such an outgoing person with lots of friends, always doing things. And now I just wanted to be home and close and lock all my windows and just like pretend I'm not there. Because it really got me to this low point where I was like, you are pure evil. Like, I don't want to help you. You know, like it really got to that point. But then after my third shrine, they were telling me that putting me through this, it wasn't for me to judge or for me to like feel a certain way about people. It was for me to understand and see, so that way I can be understanding of their situation. Yeah. That, you know, we're all human. We all make mistakes. We are all lazy. Okay. We all have moments of laziness. We need to like relax sometimes. Exactly. But it's still like, it doesn't make you that you're not worthy or that you can't get these kind of helps, you know. It is so much more than that, you know. So yeah. Any last minute questions for me?
Yeah, for your shaman journey, right? You said your second shrine, you had you know, like that challenge that you went through. What about when you get to your final? Like, do you still get tested? Do you still go through obstacles?
You know what? I remember when when my Huaning came back to me, and I was like, oh, why did I ever let you guys go? You know, like what was I thinking? You know, I felt like when I was younger, I was in the community. Like, I feel like I'm in a different community now of shamanism than I was when I was younger. Yeah. Because when I was younger, I was so in it. In that community where all of my peers were elders and they were all grandpas asking me about my journey, and we would discuss stories and share knowledge, and great aunties, you know, and they had a different traumatic upbringing and background than what we as the newer generation, what we have now, right? We know a plush life, you know, and we're worried about careers and relationships and children, and, you know, like we have other worries. Whereas back then, this was their whole life. And they also witnessed a lot of traumatic things. So it also carried into their journey where they were very protective of their knowledge because they were really afraid of others gaining on them. And, you know, in hindsight now, I understand the teachings that they gave me, like even from my own teacher. You know, like, don't help those who can't help you in the future. You know, don't die for the useless is what I was taught, you know. So every client who came to me, I had to confirm first, you know, like, can I do this ceremony, right? Even though my spirit guides were like, yes, we need to do it. I was told by human others, you know, don't do this, right? Because, you know, they come from a bad family. They will have nobody to help them. They won't know how to tianeng on that day. And so, you know, like, I felt like I was this bird put in a gilded cage, basically. Like, you had all this knowledge and you could help so many people, but because of the politics that come with more traditional families and the old ways of Neng, you were told everything was no, you know? And I felt like that was not what I wanted. This is not what I signed up for. I felt like, why? Like, everything, but granted, I was a bad kid, okay? I was a bad kid, first off. But, you know, like, I didn't grow up having aunts and uncles where I learned that respect, you know? I was taught, even lawa, they have to earn the respect. You don't just respect them because lawa. Some of them look like, that's literally what I was taught, you know? So, and then I was a kid who talked back all the time, you know? If things didn't make sense to me, I talked back. Even in church, I talked back, and they didn't like me either. I'm like, how do you know God is a man, though? Like, but how? Oh, man. So, like, you know, like, so I felt like when I left that community, it was an escape, you know, like, I don't care. I'm going to be a polite now. I'm going to learn the ways of a polite. And then, you know, like, as like, you're just having fun with your friends, and you're like, and then you see Da everywhere, and you're like, it's okay. Let's go dancing, and Da are there. Oh, and I'm like, it's okay. Just look away.
Just close your eyes.
And then when you see like your friends and they have ghosts on them, you're just like,
God.
it's okay. I just won't go to your bathroom. But I will say I did scare a lot of my friends who I used to go out to the bars with all the time, because, like wherever I go, I would see things and I'd be like, don't go over there. And so it was definitely one of those weird experiences where I just want to be normal and trying to date. So I felt like I really grew into my own and understanding what were my boundaries, So then when I went back into it, now I'm like, no, everything must be my way or I'm not doing it. I'm not playing this game, So now I feel like I can be my true authentic self and not, can I do name for them? I don't know who they are though. Like, and having that, politic behind me, not having that, because I felt like that held me back so much.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So how do you see like the shamanic world for the future, with the newer generations?
Yeah.
Especially like, you mentioned a lot about politics and needing to thinning,
Yep.
with like the newer generation, a lot of us don't speak Hmong or know like the procedures of the traditions.
Yeah.
How will the shaman world be like in the future?
I definitely know that there are enough traditional families and lineages still that it will still exist. It will still be around. And they will try to teach as much as they can, but it won't be there forever, right? Eventually, like even like my own nieces and nephews, they can't speak Hmong anymore either. So it's more of now they're going to have to bridge their knowledge and understanding, and how do they give thanks back? So a lot of times, like even with my own clients and my own students, I'm very understanding when they don't have the traditional background. Like I need to have the traditional background to prepare as a shaman to accept them when they are traditional, right? Because then they have their own family traditions. I'm not going to come in here and change their family traditions. If you want to tianeng, I'm prepared to understand how to tsaya, so I think it's important as a shaman, right, when so many of these families still exist, that I understand these actual nuances, right? And I will forever be thankful to my teacher, because she taught me the traditions and the culture background. So I'm very thankful that I have that background. But then I'm also very understanding, like, I raised a student recently who had no family support. And it's a lot of it is more of the traditions. It's not for the spirit guides. Your Huaneng, they don't need you to pay. They don't need that. Is it nice? Does it give the shaman extra energy when they go into the spirit world? Yes, it does. I'm not going to deny that. However, it is still on the shaman. Are you going to be okay with this? Like, it's kind of like your own children. You would be more forgiving of your own children because they don't know, right? And so you just have to really take that same mindset. Now, as for like the future generation of shamans, right? I'm finding more and more are understanding that a lot of it is more of a mental, where they need to have really strong mind control at this point, because now we're getting into Reiki, we're getting into crystals, lunars, and even like paganism and like Wiccans, right? A lot of all of that, it's all tied to your shamanic work. And now it's getting to the point where people are referring to themselves as light workers. There's even like star seeds and indigos and everything like that. And so now people don't want to just be shamans, right? Or they feel like they can't call themselves a shaman because they don't have a shrine. They weren't trained by an actual teacher, right? So I feel like that's not true though. Like I always tell people, you're still a shaman with or without your shrine.
Right.
And the shrine is meant to just protect you and to and give basically respect to your spirit guides and your ancestors. But you are still a shaman. You could go and lay down and go into the spirit world, But that's how you get possessed. Do not do that.
Don't do that.
Oh my gosh.
Like you are still a shaman, but I feel like sometimes people, they feel like they can't call themselves that because they didn't go through the proper training, But either way, I feel like shamanism is changing where a lot of shamans don't use animals anymore. My own lineage, you can choose to use animals or not use animals, but not all lineages are okay with that. Some, it's either or. There is no in between. But nowadays, you know, like tarot cards, you know, we use a lot of tarot cards now, a lot of shamans. I started off with tarot cards, but you can do energy work and not have to oneng the traditional way. And there's a lot of shamans who they have different colors now, you know, and so it's just, there's so much out there in the universe still. And I feel like we are going to morph and change, but there are still going to be a lot of us where we can understand and bridge our connection with the spirit guides. And sometimes they may ask you to do certain things and you have to understand what it is they want and how will it fit into your life. Just like me opening up a brick and mortar for Shaman Memoirs and not doing it in my home because I'm not okay with it, you know? And so they understood this is what I needed to be okay. So then they will meet me to make sure it's okay. And I speak English. Okay. I don't hungo in English, but there's always this misconception. When the shaman has their piho on and they are onenging, they cannot speak back to you in English. That's a lie. I do it all the time. But usually my hunting, they pause and they wait for me because they understand that my hushos, my assistants, they don't, even though I'm chanting it in Hmong, you know, like they can't pick it up that I'm saying what they need to do. Yeah. So then they will tell me, like, you need to tell them they're not understanding me. So I'm like, okay, hang on here. Oh, Aries, I need you. You know, so like, so your spirit guides are so understanding, but you have to meet them halfway.
That makes so much sense. And I have heard that before, though, when you were talking about, like, even though you feel like you can't call yourself a shaman, a lot of the younger generation is doing shaman work without even realizing it.
Yeah.
You know? So I appreciate you saying that.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Because, even for me, like, I love meeting other shamans of other lineages because I feel like we all have the same plight regardless of our lineage. You know, it's like, oh, so you went to University of Minnesota and I went to University of Wisconsin. Like, that's literally how I see it. You know, like I don't see it that is one against the other. It's literally we're all doing our work that we're supposed to, and we are all struggling in our own ways. You know, like I don't listen to my spirit guides a lot of the times, and so I get yelled at constantly. But you know, they are making me a nicer person. You know, like after I raised my shrine again, I started realizing they're making me this like good person. I don't know who this person is. No, because like sometimes like I'll be like, I don't want to go to that event. Like I'm not going. Like I'm telling everybody in my life, I'm not going. And then my kuning will be like, yes, you are. And I'm like, nah. Like, I'm not going. But it's like, I'm not driving around town. I'm like, I'm not going. And then I end up going. And, you know, like, usually where I would get really angry, like it's like, I can't even get it to start. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm not even angry. So I am seeing, like, you know, like, they really do be making me a better person, you know? Like, and this is what I mean, like, we're not perfect, you know? Like, we make mistakes. It's just one of those things where they constantly are making me a better person. Like, and I didn't notice this as much back then, but I feel like now I notice it a lot more because I am so like black and white, and they're like, there's gray all around you. And I'm like, no, trying to fight them.
Yeah, I agree. I remember you mentioned before with me too that you really have to understand who you are in order to understand your spirit guides too. So yeah, that's beautiful to see that you're now able to differentiate that your guides are teaching you things about yourself too.
Yes. Yeah. For me, it's definitely listening to them. Like they tell me little things all the time. And it's just like when it's always around you, you know, like you just say, like you just don't listen. You turn it off after a while. Like I was raising my student the other day, and my horns were on the actual shrine. And they told me to put my horns away because I'm going to forget it and leave it here. And I was like, no, I won't. I go sit down, I'm eating food. And then, of course, I forget my horns there. I'm like, where are my favorite horns? I'm going to another ceremony. I can't find my favorite horns. And then they were like, we told you to take it. And then I messaged my student. I was like, did I leave my horns there? So, yeah, I did. You know, so it's like, it's constantly things, you know, but you just like, it's just so part of your life, you know, but it can be as simple, because people try to think about, how do I get to know my spirit guides? It is as simple as, what do you think you truly like and what do they truly like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they love beef, okay, and rice, you know? So it's just something as simple as that. But as you start to see it, you know, like you start to understand more of their needs and their wants, you know? And especially showing you images of things. Like, for me, they do that to me a lot. When they really, really like something, they keep showing it to me over and over until I do it.
Wow.
Yeah, the first time I came to you for a session, you told me, you're like, yeah, your spirit guides, they really like rotisserie chicken. I was like, really? And I went to go get a rotisserie chicken. I devoured it. I was like, oh my God, I think this is not me. I don't even like rotisserie like that.
Based inside
I was like, damn, I ate that.
When you're Kwaneng like something, you can consume it like nothing.
Yes.
It is a real thing. Like, I don't like fresh killed chicken, like, you know, but like, I remember it was one of my first ceremonies that I did after I raised my shrine again. And we went to, it was for a man and their family called Ichenenga. And I remember they made these chickens and I was like, these are so good. This is like the best chicken I've ever had in my life. And then I was even talking to her mom, because like her mom raised these chickens and she dokai and everything. And she was like, I was like, this is so amazing though. Like, it's just boiled chicken, but I don't like fresh killed chicken. Like, it has this taste to me and I don't like it. But that day I was like, I wanted more of it. It was so good. But sometimes, like, I know my Kwaneng though, they love ceremony chicken. They love ceremony food, you know. But like, yeah, that's my jam. Okay, but you know, like the boiled chicken, the fresh killed chicken, I just do not like that. But my Kwaneng like it.
Yeah. Well, that's so funny to end off on a good note, and you know, like learning more about your spirit guides. That's amazing. And yeah, we just like to say thank you so much once
You're
again
welcome.
for coming onto our platform and sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, and your services with the community. We truly appreciate you a lot.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
Thank you so much.
Yes, everyone, please follow Tassie on YouTube, on Facebook, Shaman Memoirs. Go and visit her. She has a website with all of her services. If you'd like to look at that, we'll put that in the link down below. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down some of your thoughts. If you guys have any unanswered questions, we had so many people wondering about the dragons and so many different things. So I think you touched on so many things. And
That's good. Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's, what I think is like normal and common knowledge. My sisters always remind me, people don't know this stuff, Tassie. And I'm like, really?
I get that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me, you guys.
Yes. Thank you so much. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.